dear friends. I would like to extend to you a very warm welcome on this very special fundraising event, Circles of Light. Let us travel together through our network to meet our trustees and our young leaders.
Hello, maayong adlaw sa inyong tanan. My name is Father Adrian, gikan sa Southeast and Pacific region. Welcome, mabuhay!
सत श्री अकाल, मेरा नाम तान्या आएगा, मैं एशिया रीजन तो आओ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ स्वागत है.
Hello everyone, my name is Isaac S. Thomas from the URI multi-region. Welcome, स्वागत.
Hello, my name is Omar from the Middle East and North Africa region. Welcome, أهلا وسهلا.
Hi, Tunjatieta Tajirda. My name is Miriona from Europe region. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Geoffrey Manasseh from the African region. Welcome. Takulandilani.
Hello, my name is Geneva from the North American region. Welcome.
Hola, mi nombre es Vilma Rosaura Paglastuy. Soy de la región Latinoamérica y el Caribe. Bienvenidos.
URI works to end religiously motivated violence.
URI brings together people of diverse religions, spiritual expressions, and indigenous traditions.
URI partners with several United Nations agencies and is a UN Economic and Social Council member.
URI focus on global issues through 14 action areas.
URI encourages the participation of people whose voices are not often heard.
URI members working together local and globally in our 110 countries.
URI is made up of over 1,000 vibrant groups called cooperation circles and an emerging individual membership program.
URI imagina un mundo en paz.
Building a world in which URI has spent 21 years pioneering the impact of grassroots leadership and empowering successful outcomes. As we look ahead to this exciting chapter in the life of URI, we bring strengthened governance, clarity of responsibility, and most importantly, organizational accountability. By living the values of mutual respect, humility, and integrity, we can continue to promote equality and inclusion. Through continuous evaluation, we can inform the development of success measures. Success for our mission in creating lasting cultures of peace, justice, and healing. The Global Council has commenced an exciting search for URI's Executive Director. We are working hard to ensure that URI reaches the pinnacle of professionalism through the celebration of talent and excellence. Keeping up this momentum and embracing change with open arms will ensure that URI is watertight and sustainable for years to come. Together, we are working hard to build a world which is better for our children and their children.
Writing the purpose statement was really difficult. It took us 1 year to write one sentence. And part of the difficulty was that we had 3 ideas and we didn't want to throw 2 of them out and keep the other. One of the things we were working on was if we had more peace among religions, it would change world history. Another idea that we were thinking about was we need to challenge fighting religions to get back to their spiritual roots. And the third item was to offer the world a new kind of culture where religions join with tribal people and humanists to create a world that is radically more peaceful and actually more fun. Can you imagine trying to say one thing that everybody in every religion and every tribe and every humanistic tradition would agree on? Well, that was the challenge. And here it is. Take a look at the purpose statement that we came up with and that still is there. want all of us to keep in our hearts and minds the people who are in harm's way because they are doing the work of URI in very dangerous situations. I think of the young people in Afghanistan who were peacemakers, and now they're in the most dangerous situation. They are doing our work, the work of peacemaking. They're still there. Some have gotten out. And there are people in URI in other countries who, because they do the work of URI, are in danger of being kidnapped, danger of being murdered, danger of being imprisoned. So for the whole URI family, let's pause just for a brief minute to remember all of our sisters and brothers spread around 112 countries of the world who are devoting their lives to peacemaking and who are on a vocation which is sacred and needed and dangerous. Let's pause for a minute.
With stories of impact. But why is measuring impact important? Impact measurements helps us to create systemic, sustainable change, and it also drives the contributed value to society in general. It helps us to account for our social performance and to generate greater credibility. So, let us now travel to each of our regions and listen to their heartfelt stories of impact. Our first stop will be to our colleagues in the Southeast Asia and Pacific region.
URI Southeast Asia and Pacific Cooperation Circles work to empower communities through conflict mediation and conflict transformation. One example of this work is coordinated in the Philippines, where interfaith dialogue among Muslim and Christian leaders has paved the way for the creation of the ad hoc Municipal Interfaith Council, composed of an equal number of Christian, indigenous people, and Muslim representatives. And now we will travel to Cambodia, where young people are positively impacting environmental efforts, followed by sacred music from Australia.
បាទតាមការយកឃើញរបស់ខ្ញុំអ្វីដែលខ្ញុំបានចូលរួមជាមួយនឹងអង្គការ URI អន្តរជាតិគឺខ្ញុំយកឃើញថា URI មានតួនាទីយ៉ាងសំខាន់ហើយក៏ជាផ្នែកមួយនៃការចូលរួមចំណែកនៃការកសាងសន្តិភាពនៅក្នុងថ្នាក់បុគ្គលក៏ដូចជាថ្នាក់សហគមន៍ហើយក៏ថ្នាក់តំបន់ផងដែរជាពិសេសនោះគឺ URI បានរួមចំណែកនៃការដោះស្រាយទំនាស់ផ្នែកសាសនាគឺគេហៅថាអន្តរសាសនាហ្នឹងគឺយើងបានចូលរួមជាច្រើននៅក្នុងផ្នែកការកសាងសន្តិភាពនិងការបង្រួបបង្រួមផ្នែកសាសនាផងដែរបាទឆ្លងកាត់បទពិសោធន៍ដែលខ្ញុំបានចូលរួមជាមួយនឹងសកម្មភាពក៏ដូចជាកម្មវិធីរបស់ URI ធ្វើឲ្យខ្ញុំមានការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរនៅចំណុចជាច្រើនបាទចំណុចសំខាន់ទី1នោះដែលធ្វើឲ្យខ្ញុំមានការផ្លាស់ប្ដូរនោះគឺពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹងបុរិយវិនិច្ឆ័យហើយមួយទៀតគឺការបែងចែកប្រកាន់រវាងសាសនានិងសាសនាអញ្ចឹងហើយក្រោយពេលដែលខ្ញុំបានចូលរួមគឺខ្ញុំបានយល់ដឹងអំពីតម្លៃក៏ដូចជាគុណតម្លៃអំពីការបង្រួបបង្រួមសាសនាការចូលរួមចំណែករវាងសាសនាផ្សេងៗដើម្បីជាកត្តាមួយក្នុងការកសាងសន្តិភាពនៅក្នុងកម្រិតបុគ្គលកម្រិតសហគមន៍ក៏ដូចជាកម្រិតតំបន់ផងដែរURI មាន ឥទ្ធិពលក៏ដូចជាបានផ្ដល់បានជះឥទ្ធិពលទៅលើការងារយុវជនជាច្រើនពាក់ព័ន្ធទៅនឹងការបែងចែកសាសនាការដោះស្រាយទំនាស់សាសនាក៏ដូចជាការចូលរួមចំណែកមួយក្នុងការកសាងសន្តិភាពផងដែរក្នុងបទពិសោធន៍ដែលខ្ញុំបានចូលរួមធ្វើឲ្យខ្ញុំមានក្តីសម័យទៅថ្ងៃអនាគតខ្ញុំគិតថាខ្ញុំនឹងអាចក្លាយទៅជាអ្នកប្រឹក្សាយោបល់ឬក៏អ្នកចូលរួមដោះស្រាយទំនាស់សាសនានៅក្នុងប្រទេសរបស់ខ្ញុំក៏ដូចជានៅក្នុងថ្នាក់តំបន់ឬក៏ពិភពលោកបាទនេះជាការគិតសម័យរបស់ខ្ញុំនៅពេលដែលខ្ញុំបានយល់ដឹងអំពីគុណតម្លៃអំពីការបង្រួបបង្រួមសាសនានិងការកសាងសន្តិភាពផ្អែកទៅលើការដោះស្រាយទំនាស់សាសនា
Cooperation circles in URI Asia address, among many action areas, access to education for all children. Over 1/3 of the CCs in Asia focus on education, and their efforts range from teaching interfaith awareness to children in South India, to opening an open sky school for children living in slums in East India, to providing books, stationery, and library facilities to children in need in North India. Our story comes from Sri Lanka and the interfaith efforts post-civil war. And we will meet young musicians from Bangladesh.
Trincomalee is the most diverse district in Sri Lanka. Its population includes Sinhalese, Tamils and Muslims, and many other religious and cultural affiliations. From 1983 to 2009, the people from this district suffered through a civil war. This war was between the Sinhalese-dominated Sri Lankan government and the Tamil fighters. Many lives were lost, properties were destroyed, and interpersonal relationships vastly damaged. People from the local villages affected by the war relocated, leaving all their belongings. The Tamil villagers from Marathadi village were among them. This war negatively impacted the relationships between the Tamils with the neighboring Sinhalese community. When this heartless war ended in 2009, people started moving back to their lands and villages. The Marathadi village was in complete ruins. A huge bo tree was also naturally grown on their very ancient Hindu Koil. Bo tree is one of the holy trees of Sinhalese Buddhist community. Sinhalese Buddhists have a huge devotion to the bo tree. The Tamil community who returned to their village wanted to remove the bo tree to renovate and develop their Hindu Koil.
ராஜகோபுர வாயலில் ஒரு புனித மரம் அரச மரம் ஒன்று இருந்தது. அதை நாங்கள் நீக்குவதற்கு ஒரு நிர்பந்தம் ஏற்பட்டது.
There were signs that this situation could turn into a huge conflict between the Tamil and Sinhalese communities. URICC of Trincomalee jumped in to solve this problem with their experience in working to promote interreligious peace and harmony for over 8 years in the district. The members of the URICC of Trincomalee, representing different religious backgrounds, took all necessary steps and initiated discussions with villagers, religious leaders, government officials, and security forces to find a sustainable solution for this matter and removed the bo tree with the approval of Buddhist priests and started renovating the Hindu temple.
මෙම භෝගානිසා විශාල විනාශයක් වෙන්න ගියා. URI සහයෝගිතාවය මේ පිළිබඳව මැදිහත් වී සිදු කරන ලද විශාල කැපවීම සහ එය ව්‍යවර්ථ කරන්න හැකි වුණා. ඒ වගේම ප්‍රදේශයේ සියලු බෞද්ධ ආගමික නායකයන්ගේ මැදිහත් වීමද ඇති කරගයි ඇති කර බෞද්ධ ජනතාවට කරුණු පැහැදිලි කර බෞද්ධ සම්ප්‍රදායන්ට අනුව භෝග ඉවත් කිරීමට එකඟතාවයක් ඇති කරගනු ලැබුවා. இந்து கோயிலிலே இருந்த அரச மரத்தை வெட்டுகின்ற பொழுது URI அமைப்பானது அந்த காரியத்தை கையாண்டிருப்பது ஒரு தேசிய பிரச்சனையாக உருவாக்க கூடியதாக காரணமாக இருக்கு. ஆனாலும் URI அமைப்பினுடைய செயற்பாடுகளின் நிமித்தமாக செய்து முடித்திருந்தோம்.
ஆலயத்திலே வளர்ந்திருந்த ஒரு அரச மரத்தை நாங்கள் அகற்றுவதற்காக சமய தலைவர்களை இணைத்ததாக கோயில் புனரமைப்பு செய்யப்பட்டு கொண்டிருப்பது சந்தோஷமான ஒரு செய்தியாக இருப்பதை ஞாபகப்படுத்திக் கொள்ள விரும்புகின்றேன்.
ஒரு இந்து ஆலயத்தின் அந்த அரச மரம் வளர்ந்திருந்தது. அந்த மரத்தை அப்புறப்படுத்துவதற்கு URI அமைப்பு அந்த பணியை கைமேற்கொண்டு வெற்றிகரமாக ஆரம்பித்தது. நாங்கள் பன்சாலை அனுமதியும் வாயிலில் இருக்கிற அரச மரத்தை பிடுங்கி ஆலயத்துக்கு ராஜகோபுரம் கட்டுமான பணிக்கு செயல்பாட்டை செய்து இருக்கிறது.
By today, the people from this village conduct the religious activities while embracing the true happiness of reconciliation. A huge message was given to the nation by the unbiased intervention of the URICC of Trincomalee through taking immediate actions to solve a community problem. The forever beautiful couple and humanity are a real example for that.
Since URI's inception, the connection between URI and the United Nations has flourished. URI's UN representatives provide an ongoing URI presence at the United Nations in New York City and Nairobi. And URI leaders have often spoken at UN meetings on topics of nuclear weapons disarmament, environment issues, sustainability, and human rights. URI typically sends an yearly delegation of youth representatives to participate in UN events at the New York City headquarters, and in the recent years, many have participated in the UN online events as well. All over the world, URI cooperation circles celebrate the United Nations International Day of Peace and the World Interfaith Harmony Week. In fact, several URI groups have won the World Interfaith Harmony Week contest, an international honor sponsored by His Majesty King Abdullah II of Jordan. Now, it is my honor to invite you to the multi-region section. Let us travel to Jerusalem to hear an inspiring story of a young Palestinian woman, and then later, our dear Pato Banton will perform a segment of the Golden Rule song. Enjoy.
Hello everyone, my name is Duna and I am a 19 years old Palestinian Muslim girl from North Israel. I identify myself as a Palestinian, but I have an Israeli citizenship. How is that? When the war of 1948 happened, which is the Nakba for Palestinians, when 700,000 Palestinians got expelled from their homes, my grandfather stayed here and we stayed here ever since. I grew up on the stories of how my grandfather got expelled from his home, his village that's called Al-Birri, and him moving from a place to another to search for the feeling of home again. I always asked myself, is it that easy for someone to leave everything behind and move on? The answer was no, and it's still no. And here, the story of Jerusalem Peacebuilders begins. So what is Jerusalem Peacebuilders? Jerusalem Peacebuilders is an organization that brings together Palestinians, Israelis, and Americans to learn about each other's cultural, religious backgrounds and have dialogues about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In Jerusalem Peacebuilders, I had the chance for the first time to communicate with a Jew in my age and talk about random things and even talking about the conflict. So how did that happen? Jerusalem Peacebuilders determines the values that should be included in this program, such as respect, understanding, and not judging each other's by our cultural, religious backgrounds, but us as human beings. In Jerusalem Peacebuilders, I could see the beauty of our similarities and differences. We spent the Jum'ah prayer together, the Shabbat and the Sunday prayer. I got first involved in this program when I was 14 years old, and now I'm 19. And I'm thankful for the skills, the memories, and the friendships that I have gained.
When you love Mama Nature and all creatures too, it's the golden rule. We gotta teach it to the children too. Tell me now, are you making time to pray and meditate? And with the Most High communicate? Do you try to keep a smile on your face as you do the best you can to make this world a better place now? We need more peace and harmony, the honoring of human dignity, more justice and equality, 'cause everyone has a right to be free now. And you can keep your religion, but we no need no division. We come together on a global mission to end prejudice and racism. And when your soul is invested, you can expect to be tried and tested, 'cause that's the way we grow, y'all. And who feels it knows it's the golden rule. When I treat you how I want to be treated, it's the golden rule.
Members of URI, Middle East and North Africa cooperation circles work across borders and across faiths to facilitate collaboration among all people. Divisions appear on a daily basis here, so community building among Christians, Druze, Jews, and Muslims is very important in this region. URI groups collaborate with their communities to bridge cultural and religious differences. Some women's groups play an essential role in bringing people together. We will now meet a Jordanian woman who works with refugees, and then we will be joined by musicians from Morocco.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I've joined the URI 13 years ago with Naya CC, knowing the important role of URI in transforming a positive change in various societies. Moreover, I chose the journalist path because I believe in the power of the word, which could yield a tremendous impact. I wanted to lead practical, strategic initiatives to make grassroots changes in society. Therefore, I had some initiative during the past year to enhance the culture of openness to others and how to live together in harmony with all strata of society. Actually, I value pioneering. I think a leader sees the society can be different and longs to start new endeavors to bring about positive changes. It takes courage, coupled with a thorough reading of social reality, utilizing a sharp, analytical eye and a keen spiritual perception. In fact, COVID is bringing humanity an opportunity to learn in abundance since we are all in the same boat. We are truly realizing our interconnectedness with one another by cohering the three protagonists, the individual, institutions, and communities. COVID let us ask critical, fundamental questions and awaken a deeper sense of social responsibility within ourselves. So we participated with URI MENA region on a weekly basis program called Social Cafe to discuss in depth how the pandemic affected us. Then I was pondering on how media can play a great part on spreading hope amidst the pandemic to elderly and Syrian refugees. So we had a radio program for 8 weeks called Body and Soul to highlight the importance of the balance on the spiritual and material lives during the pandemic. In parallel with the aforementioned program, we held 2 devotionals meetings with elderly and female Syrian refugees to emphasize on the effect of prayers and strengthen their hopes and to reflect on a deeper meaning of life after pandemic. Friends, this is a dual purpose that one should have in his or her life, which is to strive to be a better person and helping society in which our two are intertwined. In other words, one improve oneself in a dual coherent process of the dual moral purposes. Thank you so much.
One of the activities that Europe region works on is refugees and the main challenges they face, as well as the rise of hate speech toward refugees in local communities. As an example of the work in one CC in Germany, volunteers acclimate refugee children to their new surroundings through art. The art mentoring not only helps the refugees' children to learn a new language, but allows them to work through complicated emotions in a safe and welcoming environment. And now let's hear a personal story coming out of the United Kingdom about the importance of the Interfaith dialogue. It will be followed by music from young people who attended the youth camp in Bulgaria.
2021 is the year in which the world marks the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 tragedy. 9/11 was something which clearly shook the entire world. Within a few months, I was faced with not only a global tragedy and coming to terms with what had just happened on that fateful day, but also a personal tragedy when I lost my dear cousin. And I remember and I recall my peers, my friends who were on that journey who had never met my cousin. They represented different religious traditions and backgrounds. And I recall all of them fondly, not only expressing sympathy with the family, but praying for my cousin. They never met her, but they remembered her in spirit and in their heart. And I recall the last conversation I had with my cousin before she left us was when I explained the way in which people from different backgrounds and religions had prayed for her and had supported her. And for me, that was an abiding memory, but Interfaith spoke to my heart because what it did, unlike many other walks of life, was you're not selling a product. What you're selling is a vision, an inclusive vision, one which is receptive and open to all. Now, my principal role at Baraza, Secretary General, began, in fact, back in 2010 when I was approached to host an exhibition on Oman's message of Islam, which was based on the values of tolerance, understanding, and coexistence. And we held the first UK exhibition of this kind. It was wonderful, it was well attended. It actually shone a light into a tradition of Islam which was largely unknown to the world. Baraza has a range of initiatives and projects which promote acceptance, peaceful relations between people, not only of different religious backgrounds, but people of different cultural backgrounds and nationalities. Now, Unity is our flagship program for young adults. It is a life skills program which simply provides an opportunity to build confidence, to build resilience, but also to give young people real life skills that they can use not only in their communities, but also in the world of work. Unity is a very significant program for us. We have run teacher training programs. We have run a week-long series of interactions for children from the 10th grade. And our plans over the next few years are very ambitious. We are looking at programs for the 5th grade, for the 6th grade, 7th, 8th, and 9th to have a holistic, whole-ranging, whole-school program of activities which are linked directly into the curriculum. Baraza is tiny but tenacious. It's a small organization with a big heart, and we are looking at making a tangible difference to ordinary people up and down the world. The interfaith world would be a poorer place without URI. URI has been a beacon of hope. Whilst we have been suffering the consequences of the pandemic, URI has opened up channels of networking, communication, and created such a positive spirit and such a positive atmosphere through the online space. And I am determined to do what I can through Baraza to try and work with URI to make sure that we can take this spirit into the physical world. I am a strong believer that whilst we have communicated in the way that we've communicated, because that is the only way and the only safe way during the pandemic, ultimately nothing beats human-to-human connection. And I see URI very much at the heart of this, that they will connect people, they will share good practice, they will create a platform where diversity can come together and enrich our world and enrich and develop the way in which interfaith work is taken forward in this 21st century.
Široki trite bora visoki, bole mi pejo leže še mi mlada giti ja majka mu voda noseše žal no dumaše Stani sinko da vidiš tvojite drugari.
By uniting to address threats to our sharing ecosystem, we can find little common ground. Every member of every faith tradition depends on necessity, like clean water and access to natural resources to survive. One cooperation circle in Kenya has developed a network of different groups with environmental concerns. It works closely on interfaith relations to strengthen environmental conservation among different religions and to connect their efforts based on their sharing values of caring for creation. We will now be joined by two incredible religious leaders from Nigeria. A pastor and an imam, former enemies, who become friends and have changed their communities. A joyous dance from Somalia for their conversation.
As a Pentecostal pastor in Nigeria, we have never
had the occasions to relate with the Muslims, because my background as a Pentecostal pastor does not allow me to relate with the Muslim at any cost at all. Now, coming from that background, Nigeria being a country that is religiously charged, we are very religious, highly religious nation, but not entirely very, very godly. We can kill based on our conviction on issues that affects us and our people. During the Civil War, I learned the art of war. And when it was time for people to volunteer themselves as members of those who can checkmate our Muslim colleagues, I now volunteered. And in the course of that, I lost my hands in one of the fights when we confronted the Muslim in Kaduna in activities relating to protecting the church. So as this continued, at a point I met a religious leader who told me, James, you cannot preach the gospel of Jesus Christ with the kind of hate you have for the Muslims. You must forgive them for whatever they have done to you and learn to go with it and forgive everyone that has hurt you. And that was my turning point. It took me 3 years to process my pain. But I'm glad I've forgiven, and now I'm happy, and I'm living as a peace ambassador, and at this point, even the ambassador of the Golden Rule for the United Religious Initiative. That is behind me, and I preach it, and I carry it everywhere, that do unto others what you want others to do unto you.
I happen to be, and I am, the son and the great-grandson of an imam. My father is an imam, my grandfather is an imam, my great-grandfather are imams. They are spiritual leaders. It's a family that survived, that are both on spiritual journey. And within the spiritual journey, once upon a time, my ancestors are those who are the custodian of Islamic heritage, the colonial authority. They changed the language of communications from Arabic to English. Then they changed the modus operation in the country from Sharia concept to a secular law. And that pain of losing this prestigious position of custodian of the heritage of the community, in charge of the juries, the judgment, the fatwas, and do and don't, and the social setting of the society, automatically our parents decided to say we have nothing to do with the West, nothing to do with Western education, nothing to do with anything to do with the religion and the culture of the West. So our zeal is to bring back this culture of Islamization. I come from that background of what happened in the past, and I move into hate. That deep-rooted hate in me of transferring, that hate that is not transformed become transferred. That was the journey, and until I have my turning point. And in my turning point, the day we met was inside the government house. For the first time, I met Pastor Dr. James Mobawiye face to face, but inside the government house on the issue of poliomyelitis. A friend of ours who is a Muslim, he hold me by hand and get me closer to Pastor James and hold him and say, hey friend, put our hands together and say, I want you to talk. I believe you can keep this city in peace if you want. That began the journey of what we see today. Because the meeting point was on poliomyelitis, saving the life of our children who are in danger. Our children and their children. Children are children. That was the beginning of the journey.
After that, the Interfaith mediation went around the country, in the 36 states of Nigeria and Abuja, dismantling structures of hate and putting structures of forgiveness. We have in all these states, one Christian, one Muslim representatives that are talking about our work. We zone the country into six political zones. And since we started, hate has reduced, violence has reduced.
And I think one of the important tools we have used in the past was one of the key important tools by United Religious Initiatives called the Golden Rule. In our capacity as the ambassador of the Golden Rule, fall on our shoulder by United Religious Initiatives, and as a mantle for us, as a role model for loving for your brother what you love for yourselves, a deep-rooted tradition in Islam, the same thing in Christianity, and across not only Abrahamic faith, but across religious traditions across the world. These important tools have been a very effective use as ambassador of the Golden Rule, not only in Nigeria, but across different parts of Africa. We have carried this message of saying we are one family under God, and we have one mission, and that mission is to be the best of mankind.
There are very many people who have transformed after their encounter with us. We have religious hardliners in Jos. We have some young people who say, sir, for what you have done and for your exemplary lifestyle, I have stopped the killing. I will no longer kill. I don't want to mention the names of some of these young people who were once a dagger drawn in Plateau State, but after our work with them, they are now peace ambassadors. I was also informed reliably that watching our film, two women in the Sudan, North and South Sudan and Sudan, hugged each other for the first time because they saw the film, the Imam and the Pastor. So our life-transforming energy has vibration that vibrates through people by just mere seeing us together. We have so many of these stories of transformation because Imam and I are working together. Even without saying a word, people listen and change their lifestyles.
When we see people in different traditions promoting the dignity of differences, the dignity in our differences, I want to see a world where that lives. And that is where my heart goes. Imam and the pastor side by side, the priest working across faith, not only Islam or Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Shinto, Confucian, Taoist, Zoroastrian, the people of faith, including indigenous traditions, to work hand in hand, side by side, to make the world a better place.
The power of URI in North America resides in the Interfaith Councils, which crisscross all communities. These Interfaith Councils provide to members of their affiliated congregations tools on effective dialogue for people of different faith and cultural backgrounds, host celebrations honoring the many traditions and religions, and act as key communicators in case of emergency to the congregations in their communities. We will now meet a young leader from Las Vegas, Nevada, and then listen to music from one of our United States cooperation circles.
Anytown Las Vegas focuses on leadership. And when I was referred by one of my teachers to Anytown Las Vegas, my teacher saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and I was leadership. And so when I was referred to this program, I went into this program with so many doubts because I kept thinking to myself, how could someone look at me and see a leader in me? Not really having people who are different than you around you every single day sometimes could pose a challenge. And so when I arrived at Anytown, I was around youth that were different than me. Black youth, brown youth, Asian youth, youth from different religions, Jewish youth, Muslim youth, youth who were Baha'i. And for me, I didn't understand that, but I was accepted for who I was. And they met me at where I was. And as you can imagine, a young 17-year-old young man with high levels of misogyny and not really understanding why it was so important to unite despite differences, right? I was able to really experience a community that gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me a sense of meaning. It allowed me to learn more about myself, my culture, and gave me the ability to pursue social justice in a way that I thought I would never ever pursue. When I left that camp, that program, I was there for 4 days. I was going down the bus and I said to myself, I'm gonna run this program one day. It made that much of an effect on me that I knew that I wanted other young people like myself from my hometown, from my area, from my neighborhood to experience this. That if we can create a world of Anytown where we bring young people together from different nationalities, ethnicities, religions, faith, traditions, cultures, and we can bring them together in a 4-day weekend and they come out as family, we can surely do that here in this world. And so URI has what it has done for us, the Anytown program. It has catapulted us into a whole different place. For the past 3 years, we've been able to be involved with global conferences. We've been able to be a part of discussions with youth in South Africa, Europe, North America, South America. We've been able to send young people from the Anytown program to the United Nations as part of a collaboration with URI. These are experiences, values. These are things they're going to take with them. And they're going to take them into their work fields. They're going to take what they learned at URI into these spaces. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that when you invest in young people, the return of investment is astronomical.
Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you.
Peace be upon you.
Havenu shalom aleichem. Havenu shalom aleichem. Havenu shalom aleichem. Havenu shalom, shalom, shalom aleichem. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Salam, salam, salam alaikum. We're bringing peace unto you. We're bringing peace unto you. We're bringing peace unto you. Shalom, salam, salam alaikum. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti. Shalom, salam, Shanti Aleichem.
Los círculos de cooperación de URI en América Latina y el Caribe aborda una amplia gama de problemas sociales, ambientales, económicos, utilizando una plataforma interreligiosa. Un esfuerzo importante de destacar en esta región es el trabajo para mejorar los derechos indígenas y las fuertes colaboraciones entre las comunidades indígenas y no indígenas. Un ejemplo viene de nuestros hermanos y hermanas en Chile, donde los CC se unieron para revivir su cosmovisión y asegurar su continuidad a través de la promoción de su lengua, cultura, valores y espiritualidad. Al hacerlo, esperamos sanar la tierra y enriquecer a la comunidad en general. Ahora vamos a visitar a una de nuestras hermanas en Brasil y luego una serenata con un grupo de músicos de México, Venezuela y Brasil.
Olá, eu sou Adina Santos, conhecido como Boi Baiano, e a Lorixá do terreiro do Ilê Axé Oiabagã, situado em Brasília. Em 2015, este terreiro Ilê Axé Oiabagã foi incendiado por um ato de intolerância religiosa e era feito de madeirite, inclusive doado pela comunidade que nem de terreiro mas é uma comunidade que nós temos aqui, que agrega, que abraça a todas e todos. Eu estava inclusive dentro, dormindo, quando o intolerante, a pessoa que cometeu o racismo religioso, entrou por essa porta, ateou fogo e acordei então com um incêndio, com esse fogo enorme. Temos acompanhado pelo Brasil, pelo mundo, a situação do racismo religioso. Estamos aqui para dizer para as pessoas, para que ódio, se temos Deus no coração. Tem um ato de desagravo, recebemos aqui, através da URI, toda a comunidade religiosa. Aqui recebemos padres, pastores, a igreja anglicana, estiveram nesse exato lugar onde eu estou, para que plantássemos o pau-brasil como forma de resistência, É um ato de desagravo pelo ocorrido naquela época da intolerância religiosa. E um ato aqui com todos abraçados, com todos aqui pegados na mão em uma corrente de oração. Nós plantamos o pau-brasil. O pau-brasil é a fortaleza, é a resistência do Brasil, E aí ele veio para cá mostrando que nós também, juntos, somos a fortaleza. Juntos podemos nos fortalecer, podemos pegar na mão um do outro e nos erguer.
Me gusta estar tirado siempre en la arena o en bicicleta perseguir a Manuela y todo el tiempo para ver las estrellas con la María en el trigal. No soy de aquí ni soy de allá, no tengo edad ni por venir y ser feliz es mi color de identidad. No soy de aquí ni soy de allá, no tengo edad ni por venir y ser feliz es mi color de identidad.
What is membership in URI? Membership in URI is saying yes to being a part of a global community that embraces a common set of humanitarian values and principles.
It is saying yes to connecting with like-minded people from all religions, spiritual expressions, and indigenous traditions.
It is saying yes to making meaningful contributions in areas of need in your local community.
It is saying yes to living a life of peace, justice, and healing.
So how can you be a member of URI? There are two forms of membership in URI. There is an individual membership option
and a group membership called cooperation circles.
As an individual member, you can engage in your areas of interest. You can participate in topical learning exchanges alongside people from around the world, and you can engage in our online community.
In cooperation circles, you get together with people of different faiths, spiritual expressions, and indigenous traditions to have an impact at a local level, but you are globally connected.
So are you ready to get started? Visit uri.org/welcome to join our global community.
We are waiting for you. Thank you.
Yo los invito a todos a que se den la posibilidad de vivir la experiencia que es URI, porque URI no es solamente una organización, es una experiencia. Invito a que todos se animen a poder entender y a poder practicar la experiencia de URI. Yo nunca me imaginé que en el año 2020 iba a ser consejero global cuando empecé. Sinceramente creo que para mí es un honor, porque justamente creo que no hay en el mundo muchas organizaciones que trabajen la paz de la manera que lo hace URI. Por eso los invito a que formen parte de esta gran familia y que podamos juntos construir una sociedad más justa y armoniosa.
Across the globe, we are building together a sense of community underpinned by justice, compassion, and healing. The COVID pandemic has highlighted the inequalities faced by communities across the world. URI cooperation circles have been exemplars of spreading hope, offering support, and a reaffirmation that though we may be physically isolated, we can continue to support each other in many ways. Through our cooperation circles, we experience the mutual interdependence, connectedness, the trust, and this helps us to overcome challenging times. As human beings, we need a sense of belonging, and that sense of belonging is what connects the communities we build together. Let us now hear from our trustees and young leaders about what building a world means to them. URI is building a world
where an enemy can become a friend,
where diversity is a gift rather than a source of division,
where communities forge foundations of lasting peace,
where the pain from violence can be healed by hope,
when young and old, men and women have an equal voice,
where the earth and the environment are protected,
where indigenous traditions are valued,
donde las culturas de paz, justicia y sanación prevalezcan.
URI is building a world where all animals are protected.
URI is building a world, and it is a better one, and it is available to all. Finally, it is my joy to say goodnight to you, to remember our family in all of its religions, and all of its expressions, and all of its dances, and all of its tribes, in all of its humanistic endeavors, in all of its COVID work, in all of its environmental work, and so much more. It is such a great family, and what a blessing to be together tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work you do. Bless you, bless all of us on this journey, and blessings as we go out the door, hoping that the holiest of spirits fills us to do the most sacred work of peace building.
With your support and your commitment, we can continue to cultivate cultures of equity and cooperation as changemakers in action. As people of different faiths, indigenous traditions, and spiritual expressions, our united role is absolutely critical in preserving our environment, in promoting good health, and standing with those who need us most. We must continue to be a voice for those who are not heard, for all living beings, as stated in the URI purpose. As we embark on this exciting journey in the life of URI, let us expand our impact into greater, more inclusive spheres. Dear friends, let us all join our hands and our hearts to continue building the United Religions Initiative for many years to come. Goodbye and namaste from the United Kingdom.
Hangtod sa sunod na pagkita ay.
Alvida.
Welcome, Vida.
Maasalama.
Niropaksha.
Zikomo kwambiri.
Goodbye. Adios.
We are born from earth, the children of first peoples, live in right relationship. Their evils are diversity interwoven, one ecosystem of wholeness. You are I, and we are oneness in this journey. As humanity, we're learning to live peace. You are I, and we are people united. Earthly healing, no more fighting. 'Cause now we see that you are I. Calling all tribes and nations to gather. Unity is not a sameness, but rather it's a garden bursting with color, thriving in support of each other. You are I, and we are oneness in this journey. As humanity, we're learning to live peace. You are I, and we are people uniting. Earthly healing, no more fighting. 'Cause now we see. Come with us, calling people to people. Unity, heal with us, people to planet in harmony. You are I, and we are oneness in this journey. As humanity, we're learning to